Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. So I decided today, instead of making some wrap-up videos for 2019, which I will eventually get to, I decided to make a video on some 2020 releases that I am so excited for. I'm going to start off with some sequels for this video only. I'm going to do debut, standalone, and books that start off a new series in another video. So today we're just focusing on sequels, standalone sequels, direct sequels that are releasing in 2020 that I am dying for. At least when I do it this way, it gives me more time and more room to talk about all of the 2020 releases in multiple videos rather than just one video. And of course, if you have any of your most anticipated sequels, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. So here are my most anticipated romance sequels releasing in 2020. I'm just gonna start talking about them in release date order according to Goodreads and Amazon. For the month of January, I've actually already read two of my most anticipated sequels. The first one is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. This is the sequel to Fix Her Up, which was adorable and one of my favorites from 2019. This is a standalone sequel though, so you don't have to read Fix Her Up before you read this one, but I would encourage you to just because Fix Her Up is really good. But this one is a romance where the main characters are already married. I actually love those romances. I've read some really good ones in the past. I need to make a video for that, but in this case it's about Rosie and Dominic, and their marriage is pretty much on the rocks. They were high school sweethearts, but then when Dominic went off to join the army, he came back a little bit different. He has some PTSD. He's struggling to communicate with his wife. So now Rosie, after a long time dealing with that and not getting a response from Dominic, she wants to file for divorce. Obviously Dominic doesn't want that. He is very much in love with his wife still. So this book is basically them trying to make their marriage work again. It's super fun, it's super angsty. I love the grovel in this one, but obviously it's not just like up to him to try. Both Rosie and Dominic have to work to make this marriage stick, and I love that. I just love this one. It was fantastic, a great follow-up to Fix Her Up. I honestly love this one just a little bit more though. So if you're excited for this one, get ready because it is so good. Next is the third and last book in the Central Park Pack series. I also read this one and really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic wrap up to this amazing series that I've been loving this year. The girl power, the girl friendship, the girl bond in this one is so strong. This one is friends to lovers, a fake engagement trope. We've got two adorable main characters who are quite oblivious to each other, but after some really sweet kisses, they start to realize that they are falling in love with each other. It was really sweet, really adorable, lighthearted, feel good. This one can be read as a standalone. All of the three books in the series are all standalones about different couples. So now for some January sequels that I have not read. I wish I did. But first off is Angry God by LJ Shen. It is book 3 in the All Saints High series, a new adult series set in high school, and it can be read as a standalone, but the main character Vaughn is introduced like throughout the whole series. Vaughn is the son of Vicious and Amelia. They were the first couple in the Sinners of Saints series, so now his book is last in this spin-off series. I've been really enjoying the All Saints High series, not quite as much as the Sinners of Saints series, and I am dying for Vaughn to get his book. He's a really fascinating and interesting character, especially being the son of Vicious, and we're introduced to his heroine in the second book, and apparently there is some speculation about who she could be. One of the two sisters in the second book, I am like 95% sure it's gonna be Lenny. If it's not, I will be so freaking mad, but if it is with Lenny, Lenora, it is gonna be such a good enemies to lovers romance. And another sequel that I'm excited for releasing in January is Wicked Bite by Janine Frost. This is book 2 in the Night Rebel series. This is the follow-up to Verdis and Ian's story. Their first book was Shades of Wicked. That book was amazing, one of my favorites from 2018. We've had to wait a little bit over a year for this book. I loved Ian and Veritas in the first book. It's a paranormal romance all about vampires. They ended up in a marriage of convenience in that book, and then this sequel is dealing with the fallout of that. I just really love Janine Frost's paranormal romances, her vampire romances. I love Night Huntress, although the last book in that series was pretty disappointing to me, and I loved the spin-off of that one, Night Prince. Vlad is my absolute favorite. Those two series are already completed, so if you want to check them out, do that. But this one, I honestly don't know how many books are gonna be in the Night Rebel series. I'm just really happy that we're finally getting more of Ian and Veritas. And this last January 2020 sequel is Gabriel's Promise by Sylvain Reynard. This is book 4 in the Gabriel's Inferno series, and honestly I think the series could have ended at 2. It was a good conclusion in that book, and then we got a surprise 3rd release and now a surprise 4th release. The 3rd book I think released in 2014 or 2015. I just checked. Goodreads says 2013, the year that I started vlogging, so it's been a long time coming. I guess it's nice that this one is releasing really close to the release of the Passionflix movie of the first book. I think they're currently filming Gabriel's Inferno. They've already chosen the cast. I'm not 100% sold on them, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Moving on to February, I only have one sequel that I am dying for, and it is the one by Lisa Kleypas called Chasing Cassandra. This is book 6 in the Ravenel series, one of my all-time favorites from Lisa Kleypas, like of all historical romance. I am so excited for this one. Cassandra is one of the Ravenel twins, I believe. Her sister Pandora got her book in Devil in Spring, my absolute favorite of the series. So I'm happy we're finally getting Cassandra's book. Her hero is Tom Severin. He was introduced a couple books ago. I'm not sure exactly which one, but he's like a railway tycoon, so very wealthy, an entrepreneur. He kind of reminds me of Winterborn, book 2 in the Ravenel series. So in Chasing Cassandra, it sounds like it's gonna be a marriage of convenience romance, which I am all for. However, Cassandra wants to marry for love, and the hero Tom is not. He doesn't believe that he's capable of it, but he's gonna take her as his bride anyway. I am so unbelievably ready for this book. Anything Lisa Kleypas writes, I will read. And then in March, we've got a couple good sequels. First up is Wild at Heart by Kay Tucker. I know a lot of you are also going to be excited for this one because The Simple Wild was just that good. It was one of my favorite books from last year, 2018, and you have no idea how excited I got when Kay Tucker announced that we will be getting the sequel for Kala and Jonah. This is a direct sequel. We're following them again. The first book did end in a sort of happy for now ending, which I mean, I still loved it. It was fine, but I am so ready for more of this romance. The cover is stunning. It fits perfectly with The Simple Wild, even though that book was published with a traditional publisher, and this one, Kay Tucker, is indie publishing it. Next is Undercover Bromance by Alyssa K. Adams. This is book 2 in the Bromance Book Club series. This one is about Brayden, one of Gavin's team members, baseball team members from the first book, and also a part of the Bromance Book Club. His heroine, Liv, I believe is the sister of the heroine in the first book. The heroine is a chef, which is awesome. Brayden is a nightclub owner. They work together undercover to expose her awful ex-boss. I love this premise. I love this cover. I just love the romance books within these covers to show the Bromance Book Club, and instead of a historical romance like the Bromance Book Club read in the first book, they'll be reading a romantic suspense to fit in with the whole undercover operation that they're doing in the sequel. Next up is book 12 in the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs. Smokebitten is an urban fantasy book following werewolves and magic and fae and all that good stuff. The heroine is a coyote shifter. She is Native American. Honestly, I don't even know what this book will be about, but I don't really care. Anytime Patricia Briggs puts out a Mercy Thompson book or one of the Alpha and Omega books, I am reading it. Those two are some of my absolute favorite urban fantasy series. I talk a lot about them in my Urban Fantasy Rex video. It's an amazing fantasy world. I love the main characters. It's going on for 12 books already and still going strong. And then the last March 2020 book that I'm excited for is, of course, The Sinner by J.R. Ward. This is the next Black Dagger Brotherhood book, and it is releasing just in time for Polycon, which I'll be going to with Jessica, Sarah, and our friend Michelle. This one is Sin's book, and I know Jessica is going to be super happy because it is also featuring Butch again. I mean, I appreciate Butch, but I do kind of want some of the other brothers to get some love. But I know his storyline as the Destroyer, I think, is going to be really important in the next few books. Sin's heroine is Jo Early. I have no idea who she is. I think she's part of the Fallen Angel series. So by the time March comes, I probably should read the Fallen Angel series. There are 5 books, so not too bad. I think this book is when both series will start to come together, and I really want to be able to understand everything that's going on. So note to self, I need to start reading Fallen Angel series. Moving on to April, we have The Priest by Tiffany Rice. I've talked enough about her that you probably know that I love her. This is the 9th book in the original Sinner series, and you do kind of have to read all 8 books in the series before this one. It's a kind of weird series in how it's told. The first 4 books, the Red Years, takes place in present day, and then the next 4 books, which are the White Years, they do like technically take place directly after the 4th book, but most of the story is them talking about what happened before the first book of the whole series. They talk about their past, how they first met. Basically, the last 4 books in the series gives a more in-depth look to the first 4 books, like Nora first meeting Soren and Kingsley, how she became Soren's submissive, how she became a dominatrix herself. The Priest is, of course, about our sadist priests. I don't suggest reading the blurb because there are major spoilers for the whole series. I am just so ready to have more of the original Sinners cast, of their stories. I love them so much. And then I'm excited for Girl Gone Viral by Alicia Rai. This is the standalone sequel to The Right Swipe and is the 2nd book in the Modern Love series, which is basically all about love and dating, social media, apps. We first met the heroine Katrina in the first book. She's an ex-model and she ends up falling for her bodyguard. Katrina actually ends up going viral because of some first date that she goes on that someone tweeted about. So that's why she needs a bodyguard now. I really enjoyed The Right Swipe and I really liked Katrina's character in that book, so I am very much looking forward to the sequel. In May, we have another book coming from Serena Bowen. This is the next book, the 4th book in the Brooklyn series, called Sure Shot. This one we honestly don't know too much about. It's just about Bess Behringer, who is the sister of one of the newer heroes in her True North series, I believe, and it'll be a sports romance, of course. Honestly, I am more excited about the sequel to her new series, The Company. The first book, Moonlighter, was so good. I love that one, and I need a sequel for it. And then we have Say Yes to the Duke by Eloisa James. This is historical romance and is book 5 in the Wilds of Lindo Castle series. This is about Viola, and I believe she is the youngest of the family, or at least the youngest of the eligible wild children. Her story and her hero were kind of teased at in the last book, Say No to the Duke. And as much as I love these titles, I do think these 2 books are kind of too similar. I for sure will be getting them mixed up, but still I'm really excited for this one. I adore the series. Book 2 is still my favorite and this cover is so gorgeous. And then in June, oh my god, we have 2 queens of fantasy and paranormal stuff. First up is The Kingdom of Shadow and Light by Karen Marie Moning. This is the 11th book in the Fever series and is Mackin Barron's final book. I know it's a long series, but the whole thing is just so worth it. Although you can technically just read the first 5 books in the series, the 5th book has an amazing ending. It's solid. I thought the series was ending by that, but Karen Marie Moning ended up continuing on with Mackenbarons and also some side characters. I am so ready for this one, but also not. It's definitely going to be a bittersweet ending to be letting go of Mackenbarons for the very last time. They're one of my absolute favorite power couples, one of my favorite couples in urban fantasy. This Fever series is just so good. And then we have Nalini Singh's next book in the Side Changeling series, the Side Changeling Trinity series, Alpha Knight. This is book 4 in the Trinity series, but technically book 19 in like the whole Side Changeling World series. I have been loving this new spin-off series, so I have high hopes for this one. I am so excited that we're finally getting the Russian wolves. Solenka is the alpha of the Black Edge wolves in Russia, and I think she is the first female alpha of a pack to get her own book in this world. I cannot wait for this one. Lacey writes the best heroines. Super excited for Solenka, and she ends up falling for Asai, one of the arrows. I've been wanting to learn more about the Black Edge pack ever since they were first introduced, I think in Heart of Obsidian. So it's been a long time coming, and I just really need that book. June also has some other super exciting romance sequels that I can't wait for. This first one is Daring and the Duke by Sarah MacLean. This is a historical romance and is the third book in the Bare Knuckle Bastard series. I'll admit I haven't been loving the series. Both the first and second book were 3-star reads for me. I didn't really like them all that much, but those two books have been teasing and amping up my anticipation for this third and final book about Grace and Ewan. Both of them have been in and out in the first 2 books, and theirs sounds like such an angsty and intense romance. It's kind of sort of second chance romance, but I'm so excited for it despite not loving the first 2 books. Grace is basically the queen of the London underworld. Ewan kind of thought that she died years ago. He's a duke and pretty much one of the villains of the first 2 books, but basically all he wants is Grace. I have a feeling that this one will probably have some similar feels to Day of the Duchess, one of my absolute favorites from Sarah MacLean. I expect a lot of grumbling, a lot of angst, and I'm praying that it doesn't let me down. And then we've got book 7 in the Like Us series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. We're finally moving on to a new couple. Charming Like Us is Jack and Oscar's book. This is another MM romance, and I am looking forward to it. I really like Oscar and Jack's characters, and I can't wait to see how their romance plays out. In the last few books, it seems like Jack has kind of been experimenting with men. Oscar is very much gay and has a slight crush on Jack, who he thinks is straight. And then of course we'll be waiting on the last, the 8th and final book in the Like Us series, Wild Like Us. There is no specific release date yet, but Goodreads does say it's 2020, so I'll just put this in the list. This one is Kara, Sully, and Banks's romance. It's gonna be a poly romance, and there's been so much drama going over it, but ignoring all of that, I am looking forward to their romance too. This next book is Talia Hibbert's Brown Sisters sequel, Take a Hint, Danny Brown. I absolutely loved the first book, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, this year, so I am crazy excited for the sequel. I love the premise too. It is friends to lovers and fake relationship. The main characters kind of go viral over a video where the hero kind of saves the heroine, Danny. So Zaf asks Danny to pretend to be dating him to help promote his charity. A very wholesome reason. I'm just really excited for more cuteness and adorableness that we got in the first book. Talia Hibbert is an amazing writer, and I'm just really excited to get more books from her. So now we're in August, and that month has one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Emerald Blaze by Alona Andrews. This is book 5 in the Hidden Legacy series and a continuation from the 4th book about Catalina. The first 3 books in the series were about Catalina's older sister, Nevada, and I love those books. This series is paranormal romance, fantasy romance. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic world where a certain group of people have magic powers, and have powers at a certain level. It's just an amazing world and I love the romance in it too. I'm hoping it will amp up in this second book because the second book for Nevada and Mad Rogan, we got more of the romance in that second book. It's very much a slow burn series, so hopefully we get more of Catalina and Alessandro. I'm not sure how many books they'll be getting, maybe 3 like Nevada did. And then we're getting the next book in Tessa Dare's Girl Meets Duke series, The Bride Bet. This one is a second chance romance and a marriage of convenience. I think they touched upon it a little bit in the Wallflower Wager, which I loved. So I'm excited for this book. The hero and heroine got engaged 10 years ago, so who knows where they are now. And then I have to include this one even though I'm not caught up in the series at all. I've only read the first book, but the last book in the Green Creek series is finally coming next year and it is called Brothersong. This one is Carter's book and he is the son of the former alpha of his werewolf pack, and then he ends up falling for the son of his pack's greatest enemy. So it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet thing, except they're both dudes. This is officially the final book in the series, which makes me so sad, but at least I still have the second and third book to read first. I can only speak of the first book, but it is so beautiful. I love TJ Klune's writing. This world is one of my absolute favorite paranormal worlds. I reread the book as an audio and I was just in awe again of how amazing TJ Klune's writing is. He also does have a standalone book publishing with a traditional publisher later on, or maybe earlier than this book. I'm not sure, I'll have to double check, but I'll talk about that one in another video. And then last on my list is Evie Dunmore's second book, A League of One's Own. This is the standalone sequel to Bringing Down the Duke, one of my top favorites of this year. The heroine in this sequel is basically the leader of the women's movement at Oxford. We got a little tease of Tristan in the first book. Lucy is very much like a straightforward, knows what she wants and goes after it kind of woman, while Tristan, he kind of seemed more laid back and charming. Lucy hates Tristan, Tristan wants Lucy in his bed, so this should be a really fun historical romance. So those are the books that have official release dates, but I do have a couple that don't have official release dates, but the author or the publisher has mentioned that it's coming out in 2020. First off is Nightfall by Penelope Douglas. This is book 4 in the Devil's Night series, and oh my god, finally getting Will's book kind of soon. I am praying this comes out next year. I don't even care when. I mean, earlier the better, but hopefully next year. I know she has a standalone coming out in January, so I am on pins and needles for that book. But Nightfall, of course, I've been dying for this since basically the first Devil's Nights book. Literally since that gazebo thing was mentioned in Corrupt, I have been waiting for Will and Emery. I've read some of the teasers that Penelope Douglas posted on her website and her Facebook group, and it sounds already so amazing. And then we have Famine by Laura Thalassa. This is book 3 in the Four Horsemen series. I love the first 2 books, Pestilence and War, and now we're getting Famine. Death will be the last book. She just recently released the blurb for Famine, so go check it out. It sounds very, very intense. I'm hoping it'll come out by the time a Polycon comes. She does mention spring for the release date, so hopefully I'll get my own signed copy for it. And then we've got Munro by Kresley Cole. This is the much awaited sequel in the Immortals After Dark series, one of my favorite paranormal romance series of all time. I'm not caught up in the series. I've only read the first 10 and this one is book 18, so I still have a long way to go, but this sequel, I'm just really happy we're finally getting it in 2020 because I know it's been pushed back for a really long time. If you want super hot paranormal romances with uber alpha heroes and awesome badass heroines, you definitely need to read the Immortals After Dark series. It's also really, really funny too. It's just so perfect. All of those just work so well, at least for me. And I'll eventually get to catching up in the series. So that is my very long list of 2020 sequels that I am dying for. Will I be able to read them all? Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully I will. I'm sure this sequels list will probably grow even bigger by the time 2020 gets here and authors announce more books. But for now, these are the ones that I'm really excited for. Let me know your thoughts, which one of these is on your list, at the top of your list. Like I said, I'll be doing a video for some non-sequels later on. I'm hoping to do more like wrap-up stuff because it's the end of the year, but we'll see. Depends on my mood, honestly. As always, I'll leave a link to all the books I mentioned in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!